Well, first, as you would expect, the fallout from Harry and Meghan's documentary series makes nearly all of the front pages this morning. Suggestions that it landed a direct hit on the Queen's legacy. The Daily Mail refers to palace anger over what it calls an assault. The Sun accuses the pair of betraying the monarchy. With me now is broadcaster Gyles Brandreth, who knew the Queen for 5 decades, and Prince Philip too, along with royal editor Russell Myers. Morning to both of you. That was a strange one, Gyles, wasn't it? That was an odd one, because you don't really have to do a dying swan when you meet the Queen.
No, that was that was the awkward moment, indeed. And the little bow is just a little bow and the curtsy. But people can get the curtsy wrong. Famously, as I reveal in my book, Mrs. Thatcher, who admired the Queen hugely, was very anxious about her curtsy when she became Prime Minister for her first meeting. And the equerry taking her in said, "You're comfortable with the curtsy?" And Mrs. Thatcher said, "Oh, yes, I'm very comfortable." And then went down. She got in, the equerry said, "You know, Your Majesty, the Prime Minister, Your Majesty." Mrs. Thatcher went right down to the ground and then couldn't get up.
Oh, dear.
So the equerry took one side and tried to lift her. Still she couldn't get up. So the Queen took the other side. And, you know, so I think maybe the Queen would have been amused by...
She would.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing. Gosh, did she have a sense of humour? It comes out in this. I mean, it's Elizabeth, an intimate portrait. And for the first time ever, actually, when I was reading it, I felt as if I could hear the Queen. And you normally don't, Gyles, but that's because you knew,
Well, I was very lucky. I mean,
for a long time.
I keep a diary, and I first met the Queen on the 2nd of May, 1968. And you know, if you meet the Queen, you remember every detail.
Totally.
But she doesn't necessarily remember you.
No.
And so as I was lucky enough over 50 years to keep meeting the Queen, largely because I knew the Duke of Edinburgh because I was the chairman of one of his charities, but later when I was an MP because I had official reasons for meeting her, I found myself making conversation with her and then going and writing it in my diary. And I was already planning to do a big book about her. And then when she died, I thought, well, maybe I want people to know why she was the special person that she was, and she was unique, but also what she was really like. And we only got a flavour of that towards the end of her life with that wonderful Paddington Bear sketch. You got a flavour of her there. And so I thought, well, I'll include these conversations in my book. So that's why you do hear her voice, in a way, for the first time.
You absolutely do. And she worked up until almost the end, as we know.
Extraordinary. 96, and 2 days before she died, she was there on duty, you know, meeting her last Prime Minister, saying goodbye to the one before. But also that day, one of her horses, you know, was at the 2 o'clock at Goodwood, and it won. So it was, in a sense...
Just imagine her with the racing post.
that was for her, but because she was alive right to the end. She was a remarkable phenomenon, driven by duty, sustained by faith, but made happy by her dogs and her horses.
Absolutely. She did have her trials with all of her family, you know, not least her son, Prince Andrew. But also she was worried about Harry, wasn't she? She was worried about him. I mean, I don't know what she would have made of the Netflix thing, probably dismissed it, kind of telly-nonsense kind of idea.
Indeed, she did refer to television nonsense. She loved Harry. She loved all her grandchildren. But she loved him especially because she loved his sense of humour. And I know for a fact that she welcomed Meghan warmly and was very keen for it to work, and said to Meghan in terms, "You're an actress, you must carry on with your profession if you want to."
Right.
But Meghan said, "No, I want to be part of this." And she particularly showed an interest in the Commonwealth, and the Queen was excited by that.
Of course.
And the Queen took her for her first trip to, together, the pair of them. They went to Chester, my old constituency, because the Queen saw in the programme they were going to be opening a theatre. She thought, actress, opening a theatre.
Should be interested in that, of course.
And it was a great success. But the Queen also said to Meghan, "You're new to this, you know, coming into the royal family, it's not easy for everybody. Sophie Wessex, the last one to come in, maybe she can be a kind of mentor, she could advise you, help you." But Meghan said, "No, I don't think I need that. I've got Harry."
Oh, I wonder what would have happened if she had, because Sophie would have really helped her, I think.
I think so.
Because she's been there, they all have.
Yeah.
And she's managed to navigate that very difficult rocky road. Actually, she has managed to do that. We've got our Russell with us as well. Russell, you know, all of this is happening. There weren't that many awful things in the documentary, to be fair, but the palace still not saying anything this morning?
No, good morning, Lorraine. Well, there weren't too many bombshells, were there, which makes you think what on earth will be in the next 3 episodes of this series. However, no, there hasn't been any comment from the palace. I don't think we will get one, because it is a lot about feeling and about how Harry and Meghan felt put upon, really, by the palace. So not too much to argue with. I mean, there was a bit of a hoo-ha yesterday of whether Netflix had reached out to the palace and asked them for a right of reply. The palace said no, then they said yes. I mean, that's all a bit messy. But in terms of the palace and the feeling between the royals, I think it's one of great sadness at the moment. And I'm told that there won't be any sort of fighting fire with fire, and we're just going to get on with the job.
Well, do you know what? I have to say, royal correspondents and royal experts, they were not amused with you, it's all of you. Really, he was very forceful on that. I wonder how you felt watching that.
Well, I thought it was a bit laughable, really. It looked like a couple of sixth form politics students debating the order of the day. But I mean, listen, we're all doing a job. But Harry knows that. He knows that, you know, we were invited to a lot of those tours and trips that they torpedoed themselves. So, you know, we've got thicker skin than that, I think.
I think you will need it. I think you will need it. Do you think people's opinion of them will change in any way because of this?
No, I thought, you know, certainly the first one where we're talking about their love story and how they set out the way that they met. I thought it was rather sweet, and you had two people coming together from very different worlds. One gave up, you know, her successful acting career, and then, as Harry said, he gave up everything that he'd ever known to join her in her world, and they're both sort of at a loss of how they've reached this stage. But you know, when you scratch the surface, I think that some of the barbs, particularly at William and Kate, saying that, you know, men just marry women who can fit the mould within the royal family, I thought that was particularly unfair. And then they're talking about Kate and William, that when Meghan met them, that she hugged them and she felt that was very jarring for them. I mean, it paints them as a couple of stiffs, and I thought that was pretty unfair, really, because I think that, you know, whenever you meet them, whenever I've spent time with them or they're doing engagements, people find them particularly warm. So that won't go down too well. But as I said, I think at the moment it's keep calm and carry on for the moment.
Yeah, that's what they always do, isn't it, Gyles? That was what the Queen always did. It was just like, get on with it.
Absolutely.
You just get on with it.
And it makes you happier. I mean, she adopted her husband's philosophy, which was look up, look out, say less, do more, get on with the job. And just keeping going. And they very much were of the view, I mean, Prince Philip actually said to each of his children, don't talk about yourself. People aren't interested, and actually it's not very good for you to brood about yourself. Look at the world around you. Interestingly, though, the Queen was very interested in actors, and she thought if in another life she might have been an actress. And I think some shy people, and she was particularly shy when she was young, feel a freedom when they're acting. And when I saw her in the Paddington Bear sketch, I happened to be working at that time with Judi Dench, and Judi Dench phoned me and said, did you see the Queen, the Paddington Bear? Wasn't she good? I said, she was brilliant. She said, exactly. She was too good. She's going to be getting all my work now. But I talked to the Queen about the war years when she was young, and she said her happiest memory of the war years was being in the Christmas pantomimes at Windsor Castle. She and her younger sister put on a pantomime every year for 4 or 5 years. The headmaster of a local school produced it, and I said to the Queen, what part did you play? She said, I was the principal boy. And then she did this. I said, oh, really? I should have said, oh, no, you weren't.
Yeah, you should have. You missed that there.
But she also told me how she loved the entertainers who came to entertain them during the war. George Formby, you know, and she could do a George Formby impression.
Seriously?
When I'm cleaning window, the whole thing. And she imitated the banjolele, and she could sing it perfectly. And she got into doing impressions during the war. There was a famous impressionist, female impressionist, called Florence Desmond, who entertained the king and his family at Windsor Castle. And the Queen almost saw as a role model. And she began doing impressions of regional accents from all over the country, different people. She could even do things. She could do a brilliant impression of Concorde, the aeroplane, landing over Windsor Castle.
Because that would have happened quite a lot.
It would have happened. But she could do all the noise, the wheels landing. And the actor Ian Ogilvy told me how he'd once been chatting to the Queen, and she was telling him the story of how a horse, a stallion, had chased her across a field. And she then began doing all the noises of the stallion rearing up, the nostrils flared, the teeth bared, the Queen in full acting mode.
Do you know what? It's all in here. It's all in the book, Elizabeth, an intimate portrait. And if you want to really get to know what she was like, this is brilliant.
Oh,
thank you so much. Out now.
Lovely,
right now.
Yes.
Fantastic. Look at that image, isn't it great?
Isn't she wonderful? Do you know, I really miss her.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's just strange. I haven't got used to it yet. It's going to take a long time.
Very special person. We were jolly lucky.
We were.